What's up, it's Ed with a bald head. In the video today we are going to be doing an install of a Huron Speed twin turbo kit on the C8. I am not a mechanic, I have no formal education, just have a little bit of knowledge. I do have a lift, I know most people probably don't. It makes my life much easier. Nothing too crazy as far as tools, just some handheld power tools, some wrenches. We're going to see if we can't get the twin turbo kit installed on the C8. Wish me luck. We went with the comp 62 millimeter turbos. But we got the wheels off of it at this point, and then we're going to pull the wheel well liners out. And that's what we're about to do right now. While removing the wheel well liners, you need a bright light and a good eye to be able to see all the tabs that are in there, all the T15 torque bits, and then there's a couple push clips in there as well. They are hidden though, and there's quite a few of them. Once you have all those out, you can give it a good pull and fold it in on itself, and it will come out. These are the three nuts that hold the back bumper to the rear quarter panel. All right, we're going to remove the rear bumper. It says it's a T15 Torx bit, 7 millimeter bottom bolts, and then 10 millimeter bumper to quarter panel, which will be down here, which ours is already separated. I've already removed the Torx bits from the top and down below, and then the other two bolts are going to be here and up here. I think there's a third one actually, the three. 1, 2, 3 that you remove. We already removed the wheel liners. We're going to pull this off now. I got Brandy to help me with that. Right, the three connections in the back that you need to disconnect to remove the bumper. This one, you're just going to pull that locking tab back, press it in, and then pull back to disconnect. We have another one here, and then there was a small one here. The removal of the carpet. Alright, so we have some more Torx bits here that we're going to remove. I already have it loose, so when you pull that out, you're able to see back here, and then the other plastic wing nuts, they just twist off. Pull the carpet down, you can pull it out beneath that weather strip right there, and when you get this disconnected on the bottom, make sure you clear that bottom stud. You can just pull that whole carpet right on. Engine access panel removal. Once you get the carpet out, there's a bunch of the T15 Torx bits all the way around. You remove those and then just pull back and it lifts right on out. Alright, so once you remove that access panel, you have access to the airbox. I made the mistake of pulling the lid off the airbox. You don't need to do that. There's just a couple of bolts that you need access to, and those are going to be right here. So these are hooked up to the car over here, but I've removed them. These two unscrew, and you unscrew this piece. This piece is still attached to the car, but then you remove this piece, and then you do the same on the other side. When you pull that piece out, it then lets you remove the air filter as long as you have your worm gear clamp loosened up. And then you have a hose, and then your math. And then you pull that out, set it to the side. Alright, the removal of the exhaust. So as you can see on the passenger side, you're going to have 3 bolts that you have to remove. Driver's side, you only have the 2. And then if you have the valves that open and close for the exhaust, You gotta unclip those. And then you have the exhaust hangers right here that you reuse on the kit right here. And then this side, they're right here. And it's just those two bolts. This is that 18 millimeter nut for the transmission mount that the turbo flange actually mounts into, which would be right here. So that's what's going to mount up here, and then this just tightens down on top of it. Your catalytic converter and exhaust bolts right here are those two. This little flange, though, you have to remove the gasket off the stock one. I had to pry this off with a screwdriver, but it almost looks like it's part of the cat, but it does come off. We are installing that to prevent us from having an exhaust leak. All right, we're on step 11, removing the turbine housing from this to the hot side pipe. We're in the process of reinstalling the turbo and the hot side now.
Transmission bolt the 18 millimeter back in place to the bracket that holds the turbo and exhaust mount.
The T4 gaskets in for the turbos. I did just pull everything down, mounted and sealed that turbo back up, torqued our bolts down here. This back one was a little tricky. I loosened the flanges up to wiggle it, otherwise that bolt was hitting this aluminum piece. This side right here, to get this bolt in, I had to be the first one that we slid into place, and then I had to hold the turbo up and down as I threaded this on, because it's got very tight tolerance in there. But you are able to get them in with the studs that Huron Speed did provide. Now we're about to hook up the flanges. All right, we were able to get that T4 flange in, retorqued our bolts. I do have to tighten a couple of the other flanges still. This side should be tight. I gotta go back in and tighten up those 3 bolts. We left this loose so we can clock it to get the pipe in. This is in place, we just gotta slip that back on. Look like it's coming together. Let's slide that turbo in now.
When you go to put the turbo in, you need to be careful of the fins or the blades on the propeller. You don't want to chip or nick or damage them, causing you to lose power. So just go slow, controlled, slide it in nice and easy. Have your bolts ready, that way you can start threading them in.
So on the wastegates that are supplied in the kit, we did put a barb fitting on the top that we're leaving open for now. That way, when we have our MAC valve, we'll be able to adjust our boost that way. But for right now, we're just leaving that to vent. But it says, install wastegate inlet bottoms to hot side tubing, ensuring that the firing ring CNC valve seal is in place using the wastegate supplied clamps. Snug the clamp, but leave it loose enough to rotate the wastegate on the flange. That's where you're just going to install this clamp, leaving it loose so you can rotate, and then we have another clamp right here, and that clamps to the hot side pipe right there. And then same on the other side. Start with the bottom, leaving it loose so you can rotate, and then coming up through here, and tightening the other one. Installing the pipe to the turbo right here. That you got to play with to get lined up right. It's kind of a tight fit in there. As you can tell, it's up against this wall here. I am going to need to loosen it and move it like 1/4 of an inch. We got to play with that to get it to line up a little bit better. But that pipe is just bolted on with some clamps that you can see here and here, and then on the top up to the airbox. Alright, we're gonna put the rest of the exhaust back on.
Now when sliding that exhaust in, you do have to kind of line it up really well to get it to slide in, but I found that if you turn and rotate it and gently apply pressure as massaging it in, it seems to work best for that slip fit to go in.
Move the clamps down to the back side just so you can't see them when standing directly back. Just clean it up a little bit, make it look a little better. I think that's where I want the tips. We'll see when we get the actual bumper on how it looks. If I need to adjust them, then I will. One of the last things is installing your air filter. It says to install it so it's out of the way of the exhaust, but it's behind it, and it actually kind of angles out towards the exhaust. You'd think it would probably angle to the back. There's no room, so put it on like so, and then there's a little worm clamp that we're gonna just zip that down tight, and that will give us our air filter. All right, to reinstall the bumper, just reverse order of the removal. You have your 3 bolts that do go on the side. I did put a couple bolts in the top just to hold it in place once we got it set on there to be able to adjust the exhaust tips. I got a few of them off. I went to adjust and ended up breaking a band clamp because I had it out of alignment. So I got to order some new T-bolt clamps. But the back bumper reinstall, I just set it up here and laid it in place to make sure that we cleared our clamps on the exhaust tips and that we didn't have any clearance issues. But if you look, you can tell that it lines up. I was able to get 1, 2, 3 screws in it, and then one of the bolts on the side. When reinstalling the back bumper, you got to make sure that you get your 3 connections clipped back in. They just push back into place, click in, and then you're able to put the bumper on. Alright, that's going to wrap up the hot side install. We still have the ice tank install, the airbox intercooler install, the front wiring harness left to go over. We did a large majority of it, and I have a majority of the work already completed and filmed. Just need to finish up with some editing, which I've realized is a pretty big challenge. So go ahead and ridicule me down in the comments. Let me know what I can do better or how much I suck. Just put it in the comments, let me know. That is going to bring it to an end for this video. I appreciate you watching. Like, comment, share. We appreciate you. Thank you.